This subject is quite complex. So with that, I'll always like to start with the most important areas, the most important shapes. And that really is the foreground and the shapes on the table, that dark shape across the way in the mid distance there. And there's a little shelf sort of halfway up the wall above the table there. So I'll need to get a basic idea of that information in. But still at this stage, it's really big shapes, trying to unify the whole process and just looking for really generalization, but also quality of darks and really midtones, because we really shouldn't be putting any light or lighter values or using any white at all. And actually another little trick that I've been working on is, for as long as possible with my blocking, I don't clean my brush. It's only something that I've recently started doing. So with that process, I'm actually needing to really think, what is my next mix? So I'm going with the values and colours that I don't have to change. I can actually adjust the colour on my palette. Of course, you come to a point where you've got to, because you're going to jump from, say, a blue to a yellow, or say a bright orange of one of the little oranges, but it's been providing a really good approach, actually, because it's so often in our early passages with the blocking that we jump from one shape to another. We want to get on to the little shapes, the fun shapes, but it's proving to be a really good little trick. So I'd kind of highly recommend that, where I only ever use a cotton rag anyway, but I'm in that first blocking stage where this is more sort of stage 2, is to not clean or wipe your brush for as long as possible or for as little as possible. So it really does give us that effect that we have to be mixing one accurately, but also in families. Hi, hope you're enjoying the video. If you want more in-depth tutorials, I release exclusive videos to my Patreon each month. Paint with confidence. Click on the link to sign up today. And the other little thing that I've started doing is where I'll put a bigger effort, or quite a big effort, into the foreground. And I think it's more recognising just how important foregrounds are to our overall painting, but it's never so true than in this still life, or most still lifes, where we're really using the forced perspective of the shapes in the foreground to really project that illusion of distance, which really I think still life is interior is almost like a still life, but with just a little more depth. So with that, I'm working with the same principles, and maybe that's why I like interior so much, because I've always had a love for still life, and I can exercise both disciplines in the one painting. Here we go with some nice lighter values now, bringing in that sunlight. I did actually remove quite a few diagonals and lines that were being cast from outside. I stripped it right back to the bare bones that I felt the painting really did need. So the ever important little halftones that are normally towards the edge of the board, say top left, not so much top right, but above the door there, and even down into the bottom left, and definitely that's a big dark shape on the floor. And it's very important to really sort of recognise the areas that I think that I may have trouble with. And as I'm painting, I'm sort of planning different strategies to figure out what I need to do. And my initial thought was, first, just put down the subtle little bit of light that is on the floor, see if that works, because ultimately what I need to do is get the eye to travel from the foreground table over to the table up against the wall there. And maybe I can also break that diagonal of that front table, so I may do something with that later as well. Just say putting another jar across there. And this is a good subject to bring in my little maul stick, which is not really a stick, it's a full rectangle. You may have seen it prior, but definitely with interiors, sort of trams and buildings, and when there's light poles, that's really marvellous to be able to use that guy. It allows me to keep a fairly steady hand as well. So just using a variety of brushes, but it's mostly the synthetic style brushes. So I'm sort of looking at losing brush mark, especially on that background wall, definitely with the light that's coming from outside that we can see through the window or the doorway there. So just buzzing around like a busy, productive little bee. And I was really setting this up for the light on that wall. That was the super important area. And it was kind of a bit of a broken light as well. So there's a little bit of shadow and a little bit of light going onto the picture frames on the top shelf there. And this is where I like to use the Master's Choice 279 size 3 brush. I always get the long flats, the long handles. But this is where it really does, really pays for itself, is well and truly comes into its own as a brush, which is helpful. It's almost the brush that I'd use for cows and chickens and anything that just requires that little bit more detail, because even this 1/2 inch brush will start to get a little clumsy on the smaller little shapes. So that light on the wall's really radiating beautifully. So we're starting to get to the business end of the scene, and you can see that I really do need to put a little bit of light underneath the table as well. So, but this has been a really good session of painting, and I think I've been leaving my paintings to rework at a later date as well with a fresh eye, which I think is a marvellous help.